Can you hear me? We thought we would have summer forever. That life would be lush and warm. After we'd gone through so much to be together. When the reprieve came, it was welcome. But in the process of falling intensely in love, we forgot the little things. We did not know some important stuff about each other, which led us to pay dearly after a while. No love is without rigors. Many fail at the very beginning, and very few hang on. We met while we were on vacation, both of us from different countries. I was attracted by his beautiful accent, and by the way he said my name. We were in a tourist shop and ended up arguing over a bracelet. After that, I was vexed and could not get the stranger with so much passion out of my mind. At that time, I was on a journey of self-discovery. I had failed at love, having only dated girls my whole life. But I always had that curiosity about guys, which I kept secret. It was a secret that no one would ever get out of me, if they tried. But when fate decides that it is time, who are you to argue? When we met later on at the bonfire, he was different, less intense and happier. The incident had already faded from my mind, but I was ready to defend myself if he had tried anything. He did not. We laughed about the afternoon's events. Drunk on local liquor, I had formed a connection with him on that very night, and I hoped that we would see each other again. I was easily bored by most people, but he held my attention longer than most. We met again, and slowly, tentatively, I fell head over heels in love with him. 2 years later, we were in the same city living together, and I was irritated by the very sight of him. All had been well for a while, but the spark we had in the beginning was gone. It started with the differing opinions. He wanted to still travel one day, and I was ready to settle down in the city. I was bitter about him wanting to leave and go elsewhere. I could not understand how it was not enough. But then, in those 2 years, I had only known him on a surface level. I knew nothing about his past. There was no logical explanation for why he could not seem to stay in one place. All I wanted was for him to stay in one place with him. I feared I could never contain that fire. He decided to stay for me, and things were great for a while. But I could not help feeling as if he resented me over something. To make up for it, I surprised Luca with a little snow globe. It was nothing much, but he adored it. He always adored every small thing that I did for him. Either way, things soon became difficult months later. We were facing financial difficulties due to the state of the economy, and our jobs were not that well paying. We did not have money. That led us to be irritable with each other frequently. We decided to cut out on some stuff, and we could not agree on which stuff to cut out of our lifestyle. We each felt like the other was being selfish over certain things. This led to no problem solving and more arguing. He would spend most of his time with his gym buddies, ignoring my calls when I was asking for him to come home. And then the tables would suddenly flip when I was not the one answering his calls. I found that drinking the stress away was the way for me to get through it. What did it help when the man I loved was avoiding spending time with me? I was using the drinking as a way to escape the verbal fights that got so bad. One in particular was very bad. I feel like you always want to control everything, he said. Funny you should say that. You're so indecisive. You know that I've been working extra hard. Haden, so this is because your parents are rich and have been lending us money? So now I owe you? That's not the case. I just need you to understand that we might not be able to have a trip at the end of the year, I sighed. I have enough money to go on my own if I want. He began. And then he was quiet, as he realized what he had said. Sometimes, I felt as if I was the one putting in all the effort in the relationship. But when I told him that I could let him be the wild spirit that he wanted to be, he would be a baby about it and talk about how much he loved me. I had once loved everything about him, but now everything about him annoyed me. A little thing like what we would have for breakfast would set us off arguing. In a conversation that would sometimes go like this: I'm going to make bacon and eggs. If you want to. What do you mean if I want to? Make whatever you want. Of course, but not do something so small for me. Then there was the matter of him not wanting to borrow money from my family. He would say that he was raised to be independent and would not beg. And I would say, okay, mister, I don't beg. You can starve if you want, but I'm going to take my dad's money. In the end, the arguing ceased. Not because things were better, but because I did not think there was anything I could say that would not make me upset. If I could, I would get up early and leave the house. Then I would go and hang out with friends. Most of the time, he would ping my phone, and when I would ask him what he wanted, he would say that I did not tell him. I would not be home or talk about something stupid. We became like roommates that did not even want to talk to each other. I wondered what had happened to us. My thoughts would go to him giving up a lot to be able to stay closer to me, but he never said that he missed his family. We had stood with each other and told each other our deepest secrets, but I did not always tell him all of mine. They were too dark for me to discuss, and he did not tell me anything about his family. For weeks, we stuck to safe topics, not discussing anything too heavy. We fought, but passively. Most of the time, when I wanted to say something to him, I stopped myself, because I knew what he was going to say anyways. It was no use arguing with him. I thought my life was always gonna be sunshine and roses, so I did not get why we were falling apart like that. I did not know him. The person I saw in his eyes was a little ember of who we used to be. Things had turned sour and I did not know what to do about it. And then the blow came. He told me that he was going to go traveling as he had promised. Things were better for us financially, so I kind of understood why he was doing it. We didn't break up. Just said reassuring words of, "I will miss you," before he left. I felt betrayed. He was so selfish. He would never give up his ways of not settling down for me. I thought that I would get him to settle down, and for a year, he was the perfect boyfriend, but now, that was over. We did not break up, but we ceased communication. The time when he away gave me time to reflect on myself. The apartment was so empty without his laugh and his tall frame. Slowly, the feelings of regret seeped into my mind, but I did not focus on them. I was feeling too angry with him. The video calls were awkward and there was nothing to talk about. Turns out, you can only ask, "How are you?" so many times. I was numb when I was without him, and every picture I saw of him was a punch to the gut. I found myself wondering who the guys he took photos with were. That would lead to some horrible fights. We would block and unblock each other multiple times. It would not have been so difficult if I did not love him, but I loved him even more than when we first met. I could not help feeling as if we were at different points in our life where I wanted to settle down and he did not. I wanted to travel back in time and be in his arms. That look in his face when he said that he loved me always had a way to undo me. It was all gone. We just had to say it, but it seemed that no one wanted to be the one to end the relationship, and I did not want to do it while he was gone. It would have been awkward when he returned to take his stuff out of my place, so I counted down the day till he returned. I did not know if this would be the end of our relationship or at the last chance to save it. Then, he was back. But he did not come to my place. He was staying with a friend for who knows how long. I did not ask, as I already knew what I would say, his response and the fight that would follow soon after. I did send him a message though. Me. I'm glad you're back. Luca. Are you sure? Me. Of course I am. What sort of question is that? You went on your trip and left me, now you're back. I'm just saying that I missed you. He started typing and then he stopped. I threw my phone across the room in frustration and sat there, seething. Everything turned into a fight no matter what it was about. I did not even get to tell him that I got a promotion at work. How was I still holding on? I saw our picture that stayed on the nightstand, removed it from its frame, and I gasped because I had not read the note in over a year. It was the picture he gave me after the trip when we first met. Those few sentences read, "The time spent getting to know you has made me realize that I have a heart. Loving you, no matter how much we clash, is the best thing I have ever done. I am not perfect, but I hope that we can continue to get to know each other. I hope we can fall in love with each other's imperfections." What were we doing? Had we not promised to not give in? Long distance was hard, but we pulled through, and now financial problems had come between us. I remembered the fights. We were constantly blaming each other, avoiding talking about things properly, etc. I was not gonna let him go so easily. I got up and went to take my phone, which was alive, but barely. And I asked him if we could talk. Luca. We cannot. Me. I promise I do not want to fight. Luca, I have a fever. I cannot come back to town right now. Me, I will come there. Just send me the location. So I packed my bags. The honest conversation that we were about to have was either going to break or rebuild us. I hoped it would be the latter. I got there in a few hours. He was staying with Christine, a friend of his I had met a few times. When I saw him, he looked very sick. His forehead was burning, and of course, I started to fuss over him, forcing him to take medication and eat his food. Both of us were stubborn, but I easily won due to his weak condition. When he was feeling a bit better, I asked him about his travels. For hours, we just sat there and talked about fighting. I had missed his dark humor, the way he would reenact stories with big gestures, etc. And when he touched me, it felt like it used to. I spent the night with him, checking up on him in the middle of the night. I knew it was only a fever, but I was so worried about him. If he even took a sharp breath, I would be awake and trying to make sure that he was okay. It was like we had never fought, and we were in love for the first time. The next morning, he looked so peaceful, and I could not help kissing him on his forehead. He opened his eyes when I did that. "Did not think you would want to see me again," he said. "Well, you were the one." I stopped myself. I was about to say that he was the one who did not want to come back home, but that was not true. He was not feeling well and had been unable to come home sooner. "Of course I would. Did you bring me any souvenirs?" I asked. "So you wanted the souvenirs and not me?" he asked. "Of course not, silly." I kissed him on the lips instinctively. Then I backed away. "I am allowed to kiss you, aren't I?" "I do not think I have a choice in the matter. That was the second time you kissed me this morning," he chuckled. I laughed, embarrassed a bit. He was pretty much cured by the end of the day. He had his appetite back, which was a good thing, because Christine had made a lot of food. She left for work while we were in the middle of breakfast. All was well once again between us, but soon, someone would have to address the elephant in the room. "What happened between us, my love?" he asked. "I do not know, but I felt like I did not know you. I felt like you did not care about me anymore. I did not want you to go and leave me. I was afraid you would never come back," I said. "I cannot stay in one place for long. At least I thought I would be unable to. But when I was traveling, there was not much appeal to it. All I felt was that I wanted to be close to you. I missed you too, but what about your family? You do not like speaking about them," I said. His face changed from one of anguish to one filled with darkness. "There's not much to say. They chose to kick me out when I came out. I was barely 16 and had to survive in homes. Gone to a lot of trouble over the years. Then I traveled, picked up many skills, and did not stay long enough to form attachments." Wow, that was dark, and something I did not expect. "Wow, I had no idea. I love you so much, and I hate the thought of you being in pain," I said. "No, it's my fault for not trusting you. Sorry for being controlling. You were just under pressure." My heart swelled at the heart-to-heart I just had with my love. We were intimate for the first time in months, and there was nothing quite like it. I felt that love and passion that had ignited, but also the pain that we had both been through. Nothing was perfect. Life would always go through curveballs at every opportunity, but it was up to us to stand together. The next day we went back home, and we started working as a team. We managed to book weekly couples therapy that help us to be honest with each other and to practice listening, not just hearing. We found that there were ways to handle conflict without arguing and fighting. We had to make sacrifices and compromises, and neither of us would always win, but in all honesty, we were a team. One thing that helped us was to become best friends. We discovered empathy and stopped wanting to control everything, which was in both our nature. It was not like the fights had stopped. They were there, but we took them as opportunities to solve problems. He got a new job working at a travel magazine. He was always good at writing and had a lot of experience traveling, so that helped. He would travel, but rarely, so he still got to be adventurous, and I did not have to be apart from him for long. That also gave me a chance to have some me time, which I had never gotten in the past. Turns out, you do not have to be joined at the hip with the person you love. It is important to also have a life independent of your partner, to have some balance. I thought that the hard time we went through was the last straw. It brought out the worst in us, but it also made us stronger and realized that love is not a bed of roses. There would always be beautiful moments and difficult ones, but in the end, our love was stubborn and it pulled through. Summary: Haden has been with Luca for a while. The relationship started as a long-distance relationship until they ended up living together, but as time passes, they become intolerant of each other, ranging from financial woes, possessiveness, jealousy, and Luca wanting to leave and go travel. They end up getting bitter toward each other. It feels like they do not know each other anymore. Their relationship is hanging by a very thin thread. One thing that makes Haden upset is Luca's refusal to share with him what happened in his past. There is a deep wedge in between them, and there seems to be no way forward. But not all hope is lost. They are reminded of the reason that they fell in love with each other. Are they going to throw it all away, or finally listen to each other? Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing to become part of our Rainbow Force and stay wholesome.